Hi guys, my name is Charlotte. For my project, Through the Eyes of My Grandmother, I conducted an empathy interview with my grandmother from my mother's side. The interview lasted, I would say, approximately an hour and a half, and we were able to conduct the interview face to face because she is currently staying with us. So she's going to be with us for a few more months. And I chose my grandmother because she's always been very outspoken about topics of racism, discrimination, and prejudice. And I realized that I've never taken the time to truly ask her about the experiences that have shaped her, even though I've always considered her to be a very influential figure in my life. And I always turn to her for like life advice and whatnot. So it was very, very interesting. To start off, she was born February 8th, 1941 in Santiago, Chile. So she was born in South America. And what was very shocking to me and honestly heartbreaking was how unfortunate her childhood really was. She came from a low socioeconomic status household, but the neighborhood that she lived in also predominantly low socioeconomic status, had a lot of violence, theft, and like substance abuse and alcoholism. And personally, she told me how her father was an alcoholic that abused her mother. And they also had to like wait. Sorry, this is so sad, but they were forced to wake up on the weekends, like around like 4 in the morning, to sell humitas, which are pretty much like tamales, if you guys know what those are. But it's like a dish, and her mom was like a street food vendor, and her father was a factory worker. So they had to wake up at 4 in the morning to sell all the humitas, and if they did not sell everything, they would get beat when they went home. So they were very scared of not being able to sell all of it, to the point where they would have to go to like local markets and fairs to like just kind of like exchange goods, just so that they would not come home with these, because they were scared of getting beat. So that was like a very sad to hear about that. I never knew that. On that same like note of her father, he was incredibly racist and attempted to like cast his racially insensitive attitudes and ideas on my grandmother and my great aunts. And they were abused if they didn't like conform to what he was saying. But a lot of like my great aunts were scared to say anything. Same with my great grandmother, but my grandmother was not scared, and she did not hold back. She said, we kind of touched on it, how she did not like does not necessarily think that she experiences racism herself in Chile, because it's mostly Chileans, especially like growing up. But I will talk a little bit about like racism in Chile now. It is at an all-time high. And so she also mentioned how when she is here in the United States, she feels very much so like the other, like a racial and ethnic minority. Definitely seems like she's perceived as inferior to others, and it's upsetting to her because she like hates basically how she is treated like this here. But like in Chile, she tries her hardest to not discriminate against others or to be like prejudiced. So it's really sad to her that the same treatment is not reciprocated. For discrimination, she has fought against gender stereotypes and gender inequalities from a very young age. Unfortunately, she was not allowed to like continue studying past high school. And from her parents, but she wishes that she could have pursued higher education, and she's constantly urging me to continue studying, educating myself. She's always telling me that we can never stop learning. For ageism, she also told me that she does face like age discrimination now in the United States when she visits here, and also in Chile. She says that there are several beliefs that the elderly are like out of touch, slow, less productive, and she feels ignored by wider society. She's also always felt very isolated and ostracized from her family due to like her father being alcoholic, and her like sisters not really like sharing the same beliefs that she has, because she said that she was like the only one that really was outspoken about these type of issues. And she also had a relationship, like her relationship with my grandfather, who has unfortunately passed away, was not approved by her parents because he was 8 years older than her. They got married when she was 22 and he was 30, and he was not financially well off. And so they very much despised him and tried to set up like obstacles and barriers from keeping them together. But she told me how much she loved my grandfather and how they shared the same values, ideas, and beliefs. And that really brought them close together, and how they met like in the first place. And then speaking about like racism currently in Chile, it's a huge topic, and my grandmother was very passionate about what is currently going on. So it's mostly surrounding like the surge of migrants from Haiti. It has led to like growing racism and xenophobia in Chile. There's like microaggressions that she told me happen on a daily basis against Haitians, but they're also facing like different levels of violence on an everyday basis. The Haitian population has definitely reached a new height. She's told me that there's like over like 100,000 Haitians, and that was something that was very, very unseen just a couple years prior. And she was also telling me how the way that they're viewed by Chileans and how they're treated, it has like impeded Haitians from fully integrating into Chilean society. My grandmother herself personally has several Haitian friends, which like leads her sisters to disagree with these friendships. Three of her sisters have passed away. It was a total of six, but three have passed away. And so the other sisters that she has, she feels ostracized and isolated from them because they don't approve of her friendships with Haitians. And her sisters are very racist. They have not like adopted progressive ideas or beliefs at all. Many individuals in Chile believe that Haitians are like depleting Chilean resources. But my grandma argues that everyone has the right to seek better opportunities, and that it's very unfair the way that they have been like recepted by Chilean society. Stereotypes, she mentioned, that negatively impact Haitians are formed during this time because Chileans see Haitians working in very like low paying jobs, like in agriculture and street cleaning. And so then they see them working in these low paying jobs and they form these negative attitudes and stereotypes. They are perceived in a very negative manner. And she also told me about how like Haitians, even if they are professionals, they cannot work in their fields because Chile does not recognize professional degrees from Haiti. In 2017, Haiti issued high school degrees were started to get recognized, which led them to find like better paying jobs and to enter university easier. But professional degrees are still not recognized, and that is really heartbreaking to see. And then as for like life lessons, we did also talk a lot about this in interviews. And like I said, she's always been a very like influential figure to me. I always look to her for life lessons. But we talked about how race is very much still like a social construct. It's always like in flux and fluid, and the meaning of race has the ability to change over time. We essentially take race and give it a meaning within a larger social structure. And so it's really important. She noted how we need to participate in like social movements, and we need to leave behind an impact. During the height of like Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, around like June, she was the one that really pushed me to go and protest. I was scared because of like COVID-19, like the pandemic, and just like following like CDC guidelines and all that stuff. I was scared, but she told me, she's like, you have to go, like you need to create change in your community. She's always told me to hold myself accountable and others around me to like learn about the racial inequalities that are occurring. And what I can do at an individual level. But she's definitely always pushed me to do more, to really educate myself. And other kind of like life lessons, she's also really taught me not to let fear take control. That's something I've always struggled with. This course as well has like led me to realize that, especially through like the reflections that I've done in my journals. And I'm trying to not like let fear have so much control in my life. And just seeing how my grandmother like stood up, and when she didn't agree with like her father's like racism, like racist ideologies and beliefs, she didn't just conform like my great aunts did. She stood up and she faced like the repercussions of that. Like she was like beat for that. And it was so heartbreaking to hear. I honestly had no idea. And I'm really glad I did this interview with her, because now I can see like the experiences that have really shaped her. Definitely have gained further compassion for my grandmother, her story. And I feel a lot more connected to her. And I feel like she has taught me a lot all throughout my life, and especially after this interview. So it was a wonderful experience for me.